Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Mercury transiting the 11th house in a natal chart. Now, on average, say if your house size is average at 30 degrees, Mercury will transit that house between 2 to 4 weeks on average. However, and if it is only direct during that whole period. However, if your house is bigger and or Mercury is in retrograde motion at any point during that transit, then it will be longer. Well, anyway, people, I think the first thing that stands out in my mind is that there will be more, when you have Mercury transiting your 11th natal house, is that there will be apt to be a lot more communication with friends and acquaintances than usual. Thinking as far as your thinking may be dominated by goals and your aspirations. You may be thinking very progressive and futuristic manner right now. You're apt to be, as far as with friends, you could be very outgoing, very amiable. You might be more interested in things of humanitarian nature and endeavors during this time. You might be more group oriented, even if your chart suggests a more introverted and introspective person. This might be a period where you might be enjoying more communication with friends. You might find that you're more loquacious and talkative with them, and they may be as far as with you as well. Now, this could also be a period, keep in mind that Mercury does rule siblings, and it rules when you look at Mercury's siblings and neighbors as well. So they might be playing those people. If you have siblings and or neighbors, maybe playing a more prominent role, and perhaps as far as your goals are, your aspirations, they might be communicating to you regarding maybe ideas as far as this goes. Now, also, keep in mind that the 11th house is connected with organizations, and with Mercury, the fact that Mercury rules neighbors, it could be a possibly an auspicious period to maybe formulate an idea as far as having maybe a community watch in a neighborhood that you're in. If you don't currently have one, I could see that as a stronger possibility as opposed to most transits. Now, also, you're apt to be more gregarious, more amiable, really wanting to share perhaps maybe some ingenious ideas you have with others, and you may have a plethora of them during this time. This could be maybe as far as matters connected with the internet. Maybe you might be on the internet a little bit more frequently. Social media might be figuring more prominently in your life scheme than usual. You might find that this could be a time, considering the 11th house is connected with your goals and aspirations. Your goals and aspirations might be perhaps connected, or maybe you're thinking of a goal and aspiration connected with something associated with communication, such as writing, such as broadcasting data or satellite communications, for example. Just something that might be connected with some kind of form of communication, maybe online blogging. This might be a time where maybe you feel maybe more of an urge to go on to, like, say, YouTube, and maybe do something as far as putting your word out there, your thoughts out there on the internet somehow, which would be, YouTube would be, of course, a good example of that. And this could be a time when you're thinking you might be more into more modern innovations, more newer technology at this point in time than usual. This could be a period where your friends and friends and acquaintances might be more apt to want to talk at this time as opposed to usual. And they might, perhaps at this point in time as well, keep in mind that Mercury also is connected with transportation, short journeys. So this could be a time where maybe you're more involved with taking short trips, maybe in your community, in your general neighborhood, perhaps with friends, with acquaintances, or maybe they might be driving you around to some places. You might be taking more, or you might simply be taking more short journeys and trips to visit neighbors and to visit maybe you're taking them to visit friends and acquaintances, I should say, as far as short journeys go. And really, that is something to consider as far as this period goes, as far as this Mercury transit the 11th house. You might have more of an interest also perhaps in esoteric and unusual subjects such as astrology or something with the metaphysical perhaps. Well, anyway, it's also important to look at the sign that Mercury is transiting for the majority or the whole period of the transit. Now, if let's say, for example, that Mercury is transiting Pisces for either the majority of the transit in the 11th house or the whole time of the transit. Now, if Mercury is in Pisces, it could indicate perhaps maybe some compassionate communication with friends and acquaintances. There might be maybe some more, if you're making some decision perhaps on some goals or some objectives and aspirations, they might be done maybe with a little bit more intuition than usual. And but at the same time, you might be talking a lot about it, but being in Pisces, maybe there might be some ambivalence connected with that as well, and some confusion. Now, let's say that Mercury is transiting Aries for either the majority or the whole time it's in the 11th house. Now, that could indicate that you might have, with friends and acquaintances, your speech might be more outspoken, direct, straightforward, and assertive, and you could be more aggressive in your communication, really have the no fear concept, so to speak. And it could add to maybe some original ideas as well, because Aries can be known for original ideas, and this might help as far as coming up with these ideas, but being able to, but the only problem is with Aries can be a little bit impatient, so it's important to remember to try to be persistent with these ideas as well if you come up with anything that might be pioneering or new during this period. So, and of course sharing them perhaps with friends as well. Now, also, it's important to look at the aspects that are made by transiting Mercury in the 11th house to your natal planets and points during this time of the transit, as this could impact the transit as well. Now, let's say, for example, that transiting Mercury is making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal sun during this time. This could indicate that perhaps maybe some things you might say, maybe in connection to friends, to acquaintances, to people, perhaps in groups, they might, or some organization maybe you may be in, they might be misconstrued or perhaps misunderstood, and it could lead to perhaps disputatious situations, so I'd be careful with that. Now, another example, let's say that transiting Mercury is making a sextile or trine to your natal moon at some point during this transit. Well, that could indicate that perhaps you may intuitively know what to say to people such as your friends, such as your acquaintances, such as people you might meet perhaps in groups, and as far as articulating any possible new ideas you might have at this time, you might intuitively know how to articulate and how to word it with whoever you're speaking with. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Mercury transiting the 11th house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Mercury transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.